The time has finally come. I finally got my hands on the Asus ROG Ally. We're gonna have a look at it today in another super cool unboxing. Welcome to Mike Techs It Out. I'm Mike and I'm here with the Asus ROG Ally. So if you're not familiar, it is a handheld Windows PC. It's basically the closest thing price-wise in competition with the Steam Deck. So I did pre-order this. I don't normally pre-order stuff. I didn't know what the sales were going to be like on it as far as it being sold out. So I was like, let me make sure I get one just in case it sells out. It didn't, by the way. It's totally still available to buy one. It just launched today on the 13th, which is when I'm recording this video. This will probably go up on the 14th or the 15th of June. So today we're just going to have a look at the hardware. I'm going to have a look at the buttons and kind of get a first impression of the feel of the device. And then, of course, in the future, I will come back and do a more in-depth review, probably multiple videos. Let's go ahead and dive in here and see what we got. I'll say right off the bat, I do like the box. I like the way it looks. The little holographic ROG symbol. It's got a tab at the bottom and the top to pull to get this thing open, so it doesn't seem like there's too much getting in your way of opening this thing when you get it. And I guess I should talk about the specs while we're unboxing it. So this has a 1080p 120 Hz screen, so it's got the higher refresh rate. Also has 512 gigs of storage, 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM, and a AMD Z1 Extreme processor. And when you take that off, you get right to it. You just get right to it out of the box. I will admit this is a little bit bigger than what I expected it to be. I was thinking it was going to be quite a bit smaller than the Steam Deck, but it turns out it's not really, but that's fine. Let's get that out of the way for now. I want to see what else is in the box. You know, you can't just unbox it and just start with the main event. You got to work your way through it. Let's see, we got our power adapter here. So this is 65 watts, 65 watt power adapter. That's not bad, included in the box. Yeah, it says 65 watts right here. On the other side is just the ROG symbol. What else do we have here? I think these are probably just manuals and such. Yep, here are your manuals and such. I almost missed this, so apparently this actually comes with a little stand for it. So this pops out. Oh, this is basically just paper, but I mean, you know, it's the thought that counts. You can take that out and then you can set that right there. I mean, look, is it gonna last you long term? Probably not, but it's something, at least some kind of stand out of the box to get you going. You know, you don't get that with the Steam Deck. You gotta give them props, some props, at least a little bit. All right, so let's get the plastic off of this thing. Where does it start and where does it end? Here we go. I found it. So here we are with the ROG Ally. So first impressions on the hand feel. It does feel lighter than the Steam Deck, which is not surprising. Nowhere near as light as the Switch. I still think the Switch definitely has it as far as weight. Try to get a first impression of the design overall. I like how they have these little silver accents on the side here. The shoulder buttons and the triggers are textured. These are not, but they're very clicky on the back. These 4 buttons, like the start, select, and then these 2 menu buttons are very clicky. These A, B, X, Y buttons, to be honest, they don't feel like the highest quality. I'm feeling a little bit Mad Cats about it, if you know what I mean. The D-pad is surprisingly better than I expected. It's not amazing, but I think it's good enough to do what you need to do. It has enough of an indent and enough feedback on each direction where I feel like it'd be fine for like fighting games or whatever. It's not gonna be the best D-pad in the world. It's not gonna be like some PlayStation D-pad, but it'll get you by. The thumbsticks, I have to get used to them. So these kind of feel a bit looser than I expected. Not like loose as in used, but they move pretty easily. I would have expected them to be a little bit firmer. That's the kind of thumbsticks I like as far as the movement, but I mean, they come back on their center just fine. That was just my impressions of the controls and the overall device out of the box. I do like the styling on it. Again, in the back, it's got the silver line going down it. There's some RGB and stuff up here, which I'm sure you'll see if I power this on. Then we also got our USB-C port at the top, along with the volume rocker and the power button and the headphone jack. There's another port. I believe this is for the external GPU. So that is one thing that I don't like about this. Like, it's good that they have an external GPU option, but basically it's not like on my Win 3 where I can buy the enclosure and just use Thunderbolt. And even like with a lot of the newer AMD handhelds that have USB 4, they've opted for a proprietary solution that goes to this connector at the top. Basically, you just buy a mobile GPU and plug it into here. Now, from what I heard, this is faster than using that Thunderbolt connection with the eGPU enclosure. Like, these GPUs are better, but still they're pretty expensive, and you're just kind of stuck with that particular GPU. At least with the GPU enclosure, you can switch it out. Like, if you upgrade your computer, your desktop, and you get a new GPU, you can slap it right in there. But this is like, you buy a GPU and you're stuck with it. The controls don't feel too bad. They feel all right. I can't be sure without a quick comparison, so let's get some friends to join the party. We got the GPD Win 3, which there's been a whole issue with this. The SSD is starting to die and I need to replace it, but I've been putting it off because I meant to record a video and I haven't recorded the video yet, so I just haven't replaced it. Of course, we have the Steam Deck here with the leather, and then we have the Switch. This is actually the launch Switch with the Joy-Cons, just so I can get a feel of the Joy-Cons. I'm going to grab my Switch OLED as well with the Hori Split Pack Compacts on there, just so we can get a controller comparison. I do like the fact that these buttons are bigger. They don't feel as stable. They don't feel as good as the Steam Deck buttons, which I didn't think the Steam Deck buttons were amazing. I think they're okay. These are like barely okay, like they're fine. Of course, the Win 3, these are excellent buttons. They're small, but very clicky. Like, if you like your tactile clicky buttons, the GPD Win, especially with the D-pad too, it's almost unbeatable. This is gonna be controversial. I'm making a controversial opinion, but neither of these D-pads are as good as the Win 3, which is not controversial, but I think I might actually prefer the feel of this over the Steam Deck, even though it's got the ideal D-pad because you can really nail the directions. But this one, to me, it's a little bit easier to press the directions. I'm sorry, it's raised up, and I think to me that makes a difference, but to each his own with the D-pad. They're both pretty clicky. I think this is actually slightly clickier. They did a pretty good job with the D-pad. I'm surprised. I looked at the D-pad and I was like, it looks real questionable. Looks like some Xbox 360 nonsense. But then I got it and I was like, you know, this is actually decent. Of course, we got the Switch, which is automatically disqualified because it doesn't have a D-pad, but it's got really good feeling buttons. I'd say these two are probably tied for best buttons. The one thing I wanted to grab this Hori for is because it is a third-party controller, and typically, in my opinion, the buttons usually aren't as good as a first-party controller, so I wanted to see how these stack up. These buttons, they feel kind of different. They're hard to compare one-to-one because these have like a chalky feel. The controller kind of sounds and feels a little bit hollow when they bottom out. This feels solid. I think this is a little bit better than like a third-party controller like this. The D-pad is definitely better. This D-pad, it's a struggle. You either gotta push this thing in to get it moving. So we can also check out the triggers. These, they're okay. These have pretty good travel, and the shoulders are really clicky. Steam Deck, I really like the clickiness of these shoulders too. I guess with the triggers, as far as the Steam Deck, it's gonna depend. If you really want to play like a racing game or really want to dial it in, this is gonna be better than the Steam Deck, but I feel like this would be better for shooters because the throw is shorter and there's a lot less resistance. This has more resistance with a longer throw, so you can get a lot more accurate with the triggers. Shoulder buttons are kind of a toss-up. I do like how these shoulder buttons are raised more than on the Steam Decks. I'd say it's probably a draw. In comparison to the Win 3, I've never really been a huge fan of these triggers. They always felt kind of a little bit like they're on the verge of falling off if I push them the wrong way. The shoulder buttons are mushy on here. The triggers, they're fine. They just feel a little bit cheap. But I do think, I mean, you know, this is the last generation. The GPD Win 4 is out now, so hopefully that's something they've improved on the Win 4. I haven't tried it yet, but I did see where the thumbstick still fell off in the video, so I know some things they haven't improved. We'll see. Maybe I'll eventually get that one day. Of course, there's the regular Switch, which I think has excellent shoulder buttons. The trigger throw is really short. But again, it depends on what kind of games you're playing with these Joy-Cons. Splatoon or something like that, this might be good. This is gonna be good for Splatoon, you know, especially because you don't have to use the thumbsticks. You just point and then you shoot. Splatoon-tastic. For these are just like a cheaper version of the Joy-Con. The triggers are fine. The shoulder buttons are kind of mushy. They don't really click. I mean, this is overall, I think, a better controller than the Joy-Cons because of the thumbsticks. The buttons and everything else are passable, but they're not the best controllers. This overall, I'll probably play some games on it to get a final determination, but from a feel standpoint, it's probably in between the Steam Deck and this. This would feel a lot better if the weight was better balanced and the thumbsticks didn't have that issue where they fall off. Steam Deck feels overall balanced. The buttons are pretty good quality. I like the thumbsticks, the travel, they don't feel too light. And then the shoulders and triggers feel pretty good. As far as holding it, this right off the bat is comfortable. The Steam Deck, even though it's bigger, it has that deep grip that doesn't really make it uncomfortable to hold. And I played the Steam Deck a lot. At this point, I probably played the Steam Deck more than I played this. I had to get a case to make this comfortable because out of the box it was just not a good grip. Then you have the Switch, which doesn't have to do much work because it's really light. So that's always an advantage of the Switch. But if you do want more grip, you have an option like this because the controllers just slide right off. And this feels excellent. This feels better than the regular Switch controller. So far, without actually playing anything, the controls feel really good. I like how clicky these volume buttons are too and how easy they are to reach because they're a bit bigger than the Steam Deck ones. The Nintendo ones have always been a bit inset and hard to reach. Then I've had a case up here, so it's not really fair to judge these but the case does make it kind of hard to press. As far as feel and grippiness, this feels really good. I mean, this is a good balance between the Steam Deck and something like this. I think this feels heavier, to be honest, because it's so dense. This feels really good to hold. It doesn't have as nice of a grip as the Steam Deck. That wraparound grip on the Steam Deck is really nice, but I don't feel like it needs it because it's so much lighter and it's just not as big of a machine. But yeah, so far, just as far as the hardware, the buttons, and having it in hand, I'd say it's okay. I mean, if you like something that's more reasonably sized than this, then yeah, this is gonna be a lot better. This is in comparison to the Switch with these beefy Joy-Cons up here. This is in comparison to a Switch with a regular Joy-Con. So it's not even really that much bigger than the Switch. Like if you really want a handheld this size, that's a gaming PC, that's a really compelling package, especially with this size screen. Of course, this is the Win 3. And of course, this is a lot smaller. So if you want something compact, then I would check out the Win 4, not the 3 unless this is on sale. Yeah, I'll have to spend some more time with this thing, actually put it through its paces, get it set up. And I'll report back in a few weeks and let you know my thoughts on this. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification to be notified when I drop a video or live stream. And always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.